In today's unboxing, we take a look at Era of Kingdoms, a strategy game of kingdom building in a medieval world. Let's take a look. Well, here we have Era of Kingdoms. Let's go ahead and flip it over. You can see kind of an interesting back. Usually with these kind of games, it will show a somewhat layout of what the game might look like on the table. It's kind of interesting they didn't go with that. They went instead with a form of play, going through the different segments of play by the looks of it here on the back. Very interesting. We can see the contents for the game, a little bit of lore going into the back. It is for ages 14 plus with a 1 to 4 player count and an average playtime of 30 to 45 minutes. Long ago, in the distant past, scattered fragments of civilization are all that's left after the decline of the Western Empire. Amidst hardships and the threat from outsiders, small societies began to emerge and thrive. Kingdoms attempt to restore order back to beleaguered lands and strive to reclaim the glory from these Middle Ages. In Era of Kingdoms, players compete to develop thriving civilizations by cultivating resources, appointing powerful subjects, and using cunning actions to outsmart the competition. Each turn provides a wide range of decisions and opportunities. There are many routes to victory, but only one kingdom can reign supreme. This box contains all the necessary cards and mats for 1 to 4 players to reign over their own medieval kingdom. Well, after reading that, I am now guessing that these 4 sections are your 4 types of victory point conditions, or ways that you can go to win the game. Upgrade your land to strengthen your kingdom. Appoint loyal subjects and lead them into battle. Choose your own direction using the trade route and drafting board. Strategically gather victory points to claim victory. Well, this sounds like a whole bunch of fun, and I can't wait to dive into this game. Let's go ahead and take a look what we got in the box. Let's scoot you over. There we go. All right, up first we have the rule book, or the rule codex as they have put here. Again, I believe they're probably trying to put that medieval spin on all of their stuff. Let's do a quick flip to the back, and they actually have a back cover. Usually, and a lot of times you will see some little more print. This looks gorgeous, but a lot of times they will use this opportunity to put a quick reference guide, knowing that you're probably going to need to review and go back to the rule books quite often, that a reference guide right there is quite useful. Let's see, what do we have here? And then we have some backers listed. Very interesting. This is a Kickstarter edition. Let's do a quick look at this. Well, I don't really remember what it took to be on here, but I don't think I did that. Usually it's not one of those things that I'm really quite concerned on having my name in the books. Not really something that I care. I care more about the game. So since I tend to do so many, I tend to save that little extra income for other future games. But you can go ahead and take a look at all of the backers that did put that little extra in to get their names within the book. Let's go ahead and go to the front. There was something else that we noticed, that there is no kind of index or anything here. Again, with these kind of large games, especially here, we're looking at a 20-page rule book. There's probably going to be a good bit of content. Things like indexes. Guys, you've got to start putting these in your rule books, because there are so many things in games that show up at multiple points within your game. Tacking is usually a great example of this. And if I don't have a place where I can go into the back and look up attack and see all the different places, I don't know where all I need to go. So then if I'm looking up attack and I go to your rule book and I just go to the first place that I find it, I might not realize that 4 pages down, there's another step that attacking could happen, and that might have actually been what I was looking for the whole time. Got to start putting indexes into your book. And then we have our table of contents, not an index. This just gives an overview of what all is in there, but not that more concise look at what all we have. Then we have our components with a brief little pictorial display. At least that is something I do like to see, some kind of picture representation of what all is in here. So when we're going through everything, it's a little easier to find all the things that we're looking for. So we see the setup. Interesting. So in here, this is always nice where you can kind of see where it's giving you a little more information, making sure you realize, hey, this is a good use of some pictures in here, that they're not just there, for pretty pictures. I also like the font size that they're using here. It's very easy to read, and I appreciate them adding the few extra pages that it must have taken up in order to have a slightly larger font size. It's also very interesting that they've bolded a few things in here to let you know things of significance that you really want to pay attention to. And then mini expansions. Kind of interesting to see that in your main rule book. I mean, if it's in your main rule book, is that really, it was there from beginning. Is it really an expansion? It's just part of your main game. You didn't put in here for whatever reason. Card adjustments for 2 and 3 players. And then our whole section for solo mode. That is a great thing to see in the rulebook, where they really incorporated the solo, that one player, from the beginning, that it wasn't just shoehorned in a later expansion or later down the road. A little bit of art, some FAQ. That's always interesting during play testing or wherever those may have come up, where they've found some bits of concern, so they can go ahead and put in some commonly asked questions to go ahead and nip all of that. That's great. And then some alternate rules. That's also really great, what I love to see in here, because sometimes you just want to play slightly different. And they've already put in here different means, variants, stuff to put in here adds to that replayability. Just adds a little bit. That, again, stuff that they were thinking about from the beginning and not shoehorning in after people really started, complaining or talking about it. Conquest of the King. I'm guessing this is probably one of those mini expansions. Very cool. I do like the look of this rule book. They really did try to make it look like an old manuscript. Very interesting. And then we have our first board, and it is double-sided. I absolutely love that. And actually, are there two here? That is awful. That is oh, that's why. There we go. And let's open up our rule book back up. Here we go. So that would be, I guess this would be part of one of the mini expansions. So it was incorporated in here through the Kickstarter. So this would then, I guess, would be a Kickstarter edition. But here, a trade route board. Very interesting. I like that. You can see all the different little areas. Some basic, advanced, intermediate, and then transferring. I like that. I like that. That's a interesting little addition. The fold is weird. I kind of expect it to fold in on itself, but interesting. Then we have our Kingdom mats. And so there are going to be 4 of these. There is nothing on the back. This is one of those that very easily could, again, incorporated double-sided printing to very easily add 8 different kingdoms, or to add a basic or an advanced side, or a summer and a winter. So maybe things could play differently depending on the seasons. Very cool. Now, this art actually looks the same on those, and it looks the same. So it does look like the art is the same. This art graphic right here is the same, where just this little bit right here has changed. And then your directionals. Interesting. I wonder if that's that's for beautification, if that's or direction of where things are, that's gonna play a part. Interesting. And then we have our cards, and it does look like they have already gone ahead and set up for potential expansions. We have 4 sets. Well, let's go ahead and zoom in so we can take a look at these cards and separate them into the different little categories as we have here as best we can, and then go through these and take a look at all the cards we have. All right, I've gotten all the cards situated so we can go through them one by one in their different types according to the rule book. Of course, like with most games that are card heavy, a lot of times any potential spoilers are going to come in the form of the cards. So be warned, there may be some spoilers here. I don't really think so, because I think these are, just your basic type cards. You get in there as you're going through the game. You're then going to an immediate step, then into an advanced step. So these are just all the different types of things that you could come in contact with. To know all the different options, I don't think would be a spoiler, because in this there's not that, well, if you do that, then this happens, vice versa. These are just all of your different options, I believe. With that being said, spoiler warning, we might run into a few things. We are going to start with the base game cards and start with the center land cards. Here are them. There are 4. They are double-sided. Castle. And then the Town Hall. And then we can see the different symbols. So it looks like there is one for each of the different factions. And these cards are different as opposed to those player boards. So that is nice. And those are our center land cards. Next up, we have our basic cards. They all have this same basic back. So now we'll just go to show 3 at a time. And it looks like a lot of these have potential to be the same thing. So here we just have a bunch of houses. Now we have some forests. A lot of forests. Oh, now in some mountains. Let's go over just a hair. And we have a bunch of these. I'm guessing these are going to be for gathering resources. Probably stuff like wood and stone. Fields, I would assume for growing crops. A bunch of these. And now we're getting some of the more unique cards by the looks of it. Or not. Different types of play cards, very interesting. And here there are 132 of these basic cards. Now we're getting to some more individuals. All the different people that you could come across with, I'm guessing. Choose one resource. That would have been interesting to see if those were slightly different. So I'm wondering if you're gonna have to place some of these on top of ones. So you might first have to get the planes and then have to build the farm on top. That'll be interesting. See how they do that. Wall. Some of these are sticking. And there they are. Those are all of our all of our basic cards. Up next, we have our intermediate cards. They all have this back right here. Go ahead and do those the same way. Go. Interesting. I'm guessing down here the resources it's going to take to get them, and then who knows what all. Oh, very interesting. They have put a lot of information iconically on all of these cards in our more advanced or intermediate locations. A festival, stables, I like this. I like that there are so many different things that you can do. You can build different levels of advancement with basic, intermediate, and the advanced. That just, without really diving into the rule books and seeing for sure, at first glance, it gives the appearance of having a lot of replayability, where you can try lots of different things. You know, do I build up a fortification in one time? Do I build up a more economic type civilization? See what kind of works. I like lost artifact. Kind of looks like a grail to me. And then attack. And those are our 51 intermediate cards. Next up, we have our advanced cards. They all have this advanced back. The advanced cards, there are 22 of them. King card. I like the art. I mean, it is a medieval game, and they really do take that to heart. This is very medieval looking art and graphics on here. And those are our 22 advanced cards. Up next, we have our Richest Cards. There are 12 of those. They are identical, both front and back, as you can see. And like I said, there are 12. And finally, we have 4 icon or 4 reference cards. And it looks like there is one for each faction. Other than that, they are the same, just their coloring is slightly different. Where one side it shows their icons, and on the other side it shows their turn guide. Again, one for each. All right, so let's now get into the cards for that mini expansion. Up first, we have the 6 basic trade route cards. So let's see here. And actually, I believe, okay, nope, they all have the same, they have that basic background, but there are 4 new trade route cards. Or I'm sorry, 6 basic trade route cards. So, there we go. Then we have 4 commerce cards, 3 intermediate and 1 advanced. So let's show the intermediate first. There we go. And then our 1 advanced. Let's just stick you there. So there's 2 of this one, make a total of 3 intermediate, and then the 1 advanced. All right. Next, we have our 12 goods cards. They all have this goods back, right there. And then with goods on one side and bountiful goods. So let's see here. Goods on one side, bountiful goods on the other. All right. Then we have 1 trade route guide card. Interesting that we only get 1 of those. Next we get 8 ruler trait cards. All right, so these are a little different front and back. And finally, we have our 7 life tracker tile cards and the 1 queen card. The queen card is an advanced card. So as you remember from the base game, we had the king. Well, here with the mini expansion, they have added a queen card. And then we have the 7 life cards. So that. And it's back. There's that. It's back. That one. It's back. And there is an additional 1 of those. Well, that is everything for Era of Kingdoms. I hope this unboxing helped you to determine if this is a kind of game you would be looking forward to. if it is something you'd be interested in getting for yourself. Most likely it is going to go retail, being that it did have the barcode printed on the back of the box. It sounds like a very interesting game from what I have been able to see here, with a lot of potential replayability with your 4 different factions, you know, your solo mode, lots of different basic, intermediate, advanced areas to go through, lots of different strategy you potentially could take into account, lots of different avenues and build types. Very interesting. I'm very interested into diving into this rule book, seeing what all there is to see here. Well, until next time, guys, I'll see you later.